Okay, so do you think this is going to be a mainstream? You said HBO started with all of their shows and other people followed. Will it be something that you have to have going forward in the
Soon,
movie business?
yes. So, in the latest SAG contract, which is 2023, they put in a clause that said that if there's simulated sex or nudity, it's best practices to have, they say best practices at this point, to have an IC on set, or if the actor asks for one, and they will not be retaliated against.
Mm.
So right now, SAG-AFTRA is going to be negotiating with the AMPTP to bring us into the union, which is very, very exciting. And at that point, or sometime soon, I imagine they will make it mandatory. They've been trying to do that, but at the time that these contracts were negotiated, there weren't really enough of us to go around to make it mandatory. Now there's absolutely enough of us. The marketplace is saturated with intimacy coordinators. During COVID, a lot of people trained and became ICs. A lot of people waved a wand over their head and said that they're an IC, and they're really not quite trained enough. But there's a glut. There's a lot of us, like LA, all the marketplaces like LA, Atlanta, New York, and we're global now. Like there are ICs in almost every country.
And could people have this as their full-time job and nothing else? Or is this like a side job?
There are those that are definitely making a living. I'm working myself up to that because there are so many of us. And like I said, there's a lot of people that have just claimed that they're ICs, and they're undercutting us and underbidding us. And so a lot of line producers who hire us don't know what they're bringing in, and they're really happy to hire somebody for less than half of what I would get, and it usually backfires on them. But soon, yes, I think people could make a living at this. Yes.
And what would
also, the business is in a really shitty position right now. We're coming off of years of COVID, the strike. The business is upside down right now. It's really, really slow.
Yeah.
And so we're historically in a very strange time in terms of production.
Yeah. But it seems like an essential job that's going to be needed on those shoots. I would think that that's going to become an essential part of making a movie or.
Absolutely.
Or
and once SAG declares it as mandatory, it'll certainly help. But like I said, Amazon, Apple, they all use us. They're not, it doesn't say they're mandatory, but they all use us for any scene that has to do with this.
And could an actor be hired to be on a film or show and say, I want, and that's part of my contract?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
so it doesn't have to be part of the film originally, they can request.
Yeah, absolutely. And like it says in the SAG contract that they can ask for one and there will be no retaliation.
Right. Okay. What, for somebody that might be listening that want to get into this kind of field, what do you say would make the best qualities for someone that's an IC?
Well, one thing that is essential that many people don't realize is that you have to have set experience. That's not something that can really be taught. You absolutely have to have lived on a set and understand the set etiquette and just how things work, because it is like a foreign language. It's like it's a foreign city when you come in there. And so I get asked by many sex educators or sex psychologists, how can I do this? And yet they have no understanding of filmmaking. And so that is absolutely essential. Most people don't even realize, because I understand, I come from a casting background. And so I know how to talk to I come in with like a different toolkit than a lot of ICs, because I know how to talk to actors. I have been coaching for the last 13, 14 years. So I come in knowing exactly how to help them get from point A to point B. I've been working with directors for the last 45 years. I understand where the camera needs to go. It's very important to know like what setups are and what these camera terms mean and how stuff is shot to make these scenes work. So if you don't have that experience, then the training doesn't really give you that.
And there's probably something to be said for someone who really is your advocate, that when inside you might be thinking, oh my God, this doesn't feel comfortable, that that person is also seeing that and feeling that and will stop what's going on and have a conversation. I would think that
Yes.
that's
I
essential
have
to
a
that job.
really my empathy level is huge.
Yeah.
It's kind of part I say it's kind of baked into my DNA, quite honestly. Like since I've been a casting director, I'm always there to protect the actor because they're in such a vulnerable position
Mhm.
and to help the director navigate this system. And it's just always been really in my blood to speak up for those that don't have a voice.
Yeah. Right.
That's just the way I was born. And so when I heard about this job in 2017, I knew it had elements that I would really excel in.
Right. So, all right. Are there any films that or shows that you've done that were your favorites that when I say favorites, it could be for any reason that you took two people and had to literally explain how to find intimacy or the coordination was great or when it came out you were like, "Oh my god, I'm so proud of this."
Well, that's kind of like choosing my favorite baby,
Yeah.
which or child, which would be really hard to do. But I did have a really amazing experience on this show called Hightown that I did for 2 seasons. So they had their first season without an IC because they didn't exist then, and then I did season 2 and season 3. And it's on Stars. It's an amazing show if you haven't seen it. And there was a lot of content, a lot of simulated sex, a lot of nudity. The main set was a strip club. And so I was always dealing with about 3 or 4 principal actors and then maybe 15 background players of strippers. And so I also look out for all the background players as well. So I
Mm.
had a lot on my plate and it really exercised all of my training. And I would go home from work and go, man, like that was a really good day, and I feel really needed, and that I made a difference,
Mm.
and that makes me feel just it's a really amazing feeling. One of the scenes that we did in this show on the 3rd season is a 60-person orgy, which
What?
I did single-handedly, and I still have PTSD from it.
I'm sure.
But that just tests all of my skills. It was a lot.
Wow. Okay, that does sound like a lot. I don't even know how
It
you
really
coordinate
was.
that. I'm curious if anyone uses you to come up to you and talk to if they feel like they're slipping out of their character and they are falling for their counterpart.
Oh, that no, that hasn't happened.
But do you think that's like something that could where you could step in as
Yeah, I mean,
well?
sorry to cut you off, but it all depends on the relationship that we have
Mhm.
and how much they lean on me and trust me. I have worked with some actors that are like, I'm cool, and I know to like really
Right.
pull back. And I work with other actors that are really struggling and they've never done scenes like this ever. I've done a few things with actors that have never exposed themselves, have never had any simulated sex scenes. And, I need to teach them how to have an orgasm on screen
Right.
and
Terrifying.
comfortable with that.
Yeah. I can't
Because
even
that's
imagine.
so vulnerable and it's so exposed, and it's a real personal thing, and they know they've signed up for it, but they're scared. And so what's great about this job is that we do so much preparation so that by the time we get on set, there's no surprises. And
Mhm.
they feel so comfortable that they even give more because they know that no one's going to take advantage of them. They don't have to grow eyes in the back of their head. They know that I'm there with eyes on them to make sure that everything goes well and that nothing goes sideways, so that they're so comfortable they can just dig into their work, which is a
Mm.
really great feeling for an actor to just to relax and really immerse themselves in the character because they know that all these other elements have already been talked about and they're settled.
Right. So, how did you personally fall into getting into this line of work? Because I know that you have a huge career in casting before this. What made you want to do this?
Well, I've been casting for a long time, several decades, and I feel like I've worked with some of the best directors out there and cast some really interesting movies. And I've been looking for my next act for some time and I haven't I wasn't able to find it. And then I heard about this and thought, this just is such a great mesh of all of my skills of working with actors and filmmakers, which I love, and then having some sort of, being on this new wave of change, which is so exciting to me to know that actors will never have to go through what they had gone through.